our wonderful presenter, Angie Rizzi, who is going to be talking to us today about the cloud stuff, and really excited to hear about this. So before I turn it over to you, I will just say welcome everybody who's watching this online, the recording that we put up afterwards if you couldn't join us in person. We do hope that you join us one day as we do have some fun at these, and we do learn a lot as well. And hopefully, this format is something that people start to enjoy even more in the future when we get back to the normal um, of our professional development and engagement. So, with that, I will turn it over to Angie. And this is a great project, I think, in these times because it crosses the boundary between things you can do remote learning and in the classroom if you are doing in-person learning, and then every time in between with families, etc. So with that, I will turn it over. I'm really excited to hear about this one, Angie. Thanks.
Thank you. So Angie Rizzi, I'm also NASA Langley Research Center in Virginia. If I were a digital nomad, I have always wanted to go to Alaska. So I think that that's what I would do. So anyhow, I'll get started. I am here for Marile Colon Robles, who is really our clouds scientist for Globe, and she's the one really leading up this challenge. So I'm going to try to channel her enthusiasm because she's very enthusiastic, for those of you who know her. So hopefully the screen share will work. We know NASA and Zoom don't always get along, but can everyone see my screen? Okay. So Cloud Challenge 2022, and the theme of this challenge is clouds in a changing climate. It will start on January 15th and run through February 15th. We are super excited. We've had a lot of people working hard on this. As I mentioned, Marile is the lead. This beautiful artwork was done by Heather Mortimer, and I'm Angie Rizzi, and I'll answer questions. So I have some slides as a backup, but what I really want to do is go to the web page that was created for the challenge and just kind of walk you through what's available on the web page, which includes the 2 clouds pacing guides that are completed and published, and I will go through those as well. So the idea here is that a lot of people don't realize that clouds can warm our planet or cool the planet, depending on the type of cloud. So we're hoping to raise awareness of that a little bit, and that the cloud observations clearly can help NASA study our climate. The goal that we have set for ourselves for this challenge is that we would like to do 20,000 satellite matches during this challenge. We're starting to close in on a high number of satellite matches that we will want to celebrate when we get to that point, and this will help us get there. So if you go to the website, did the screen change for everyone? Great, okay. Kristen Weaver worked hard on this and put this together, and the main thing about this challenge, and it's a good thing that we planned ahead because with what's happened with COVID lately, there again may be people who can't go outside and safely make observations, or they may not want to do that in schools. So there are 2 ways to participate in this challenge. The first is using Globe Observer or making cloud observations in the normal way. And then the second is to participate in the Cloud Gaze project. Maybe you guys, is there anybody here who has not yet heard of Cloud Gaze? Okay, so as you know, the Globe Observer photos are sent into Cloud Gaze, and people can classify or give input on those online, so they don't have to go outside and they can still be learning about the cloud types and stuff, which is really wonderful. The other thing is that I've been talking to teachers about cloud days is that if you have students or citizen scientists who are hesitant to submit an observation because they're not sure if they were 100% correct, and we all know that sometimes classifying the exact cloud type or the percent cover, sometimes we're not 100% sure. That I tell them, well, eventually they'll go through cloud gaze and 8 other people will have to agree. And so you don't need to worry about it being 100% correct. Just give us the best observation that you can. So if you continue on this page, then we have a bunch of videos scheduled during the challenge. Of course, Autumn Burdick has worked hard to come up with our plan for all of this. We've got some student bloggers who have put together some vlogs about making cloud observations and also how they've seen changes in their area, like climate changes. So depending on who they talk to, we have that. And we've got one with Carlos from the USA about making cloud observations, which is already out there. And then we're going to have reels on the Globe Instagram channel. And I wasn't familiar with a reel when we began this process. So they are just short, like 1 minute engaging videos. So we have one scheduled each week. We've got, and they're all with a scientist, Clouds in Our Everyday Life with Dr. Patrick Taylor. Then Dr. Denise Sky Yost from GIO will be talking about weather versus climate and the GLOBE program and how we have this long-term data set with GLOBE. Then Not All Clouds Are the Same with Dr. Shia Kai. Dr. Yolanda Shea will talk about climate data and clouds. And then finally, from NOAA, we have Dr. Daniel Lindsay, who will talk about how satellites study clouds. And that will help us tie in with the GOES-T satellite that will be launched in March, NOAA satellite, because ultimately down the road, we'll be matching to the GOES-T satellite for our cloud satellite matches. Are there any questions so far? Okay. There are 2 opportunities for kind of more public facing webinars or whatever about the challenge. There's the LA Public Library, which is next Thursday. There's information on this page. I'll be sharing this page link with you at the end, where I see Marilei is actually on here. Maybe she can share it as well. And then there's the American Meteorological Society Community and Citizen Science Symposium that's going to include some information about GLOBE as well. So those are opportunities that your teachers, colleagues, friends, you may be interested in joining. We also have 2 new videos that teachers and students made. This one is a demonstration of the Sci Girls Cloud Clues activity, which is a general opacity activity that Emily Holliday in Weston Secondary School in New York City had her students put together. It's a really cute video that they made where they're demonstrating that activity. And then Dr. Karen Long from Montverde Academy and her students did the cloud opacity activity for, Earth's energy budget and NASA Globe Cloud Gaze. So that video is also available and they're new. On the webpage, we also have where you can see recent cloud observations from the visualization tool. So you can kind of see there's information on interpreting and reading your satellite match, as well as a quick video on how to set up the notifications of when you have a possible satellite match. So that video will be helpful. Then there's GOES-T satellite information. And we have resources for families and educators. Now, A lot of these are resources that we already had before. We've just packaged it together for people, but these pacing guides are new. So I'd like to just quickly go through the pacing guides. Before I start, the intention of the pacing guides is to help, it is for teachers, and it is to help these teachers that are either new to Globe, not sure where to start, maybe they're new to clouds, whatever it is. And we've all, maybe not all of us, but a lot of us have been in professional development, and the teachers ask like, okay, so, where's my, do you have a unit plan? Do you have a sequence for me? Where can I start? This is for people who are starting out. Okay. I expect that people who have more experience, they might get ideas from this, but I doubt they would follow it, to the letter. But this is to help people getting started. And we've kind of made tough choices. Like, we know there's a plethora of resources out there, but if we had to just say, this is what you can do, then what can you do in 5 days? And it's designed for like 40 to 45-minute class periods. So that's the intention, is to help people get started with this. And then they can go out on their own and venture out. So each pacing guide connects to some kind of science investigation with NASA and NESIC, because these were developed cooperatively between Globe Mission Earth and NESIC. So this is where there would be like a further investigation topic would be like a Globe Cloud Challenge, or the Trees Campaign, or the Urban Heat Island surface temperature initiative, that kind of thing. And there's a guiding question for each one. There's somebody to contact. There's information on becoming a Globe teacher, etc. And they are aligned to NGSS standards. Now, it's not saying that we're 100% meeting each of these standards, just that these standards are supported, and they're different grade bands. So the cloud types featuring NASA Globe Cloud Gaze is like 3rd through 8th grade. It doesn't mean older students couldn't use it, but it aligns better with those standards. There's background information and how it ties to NASA that the teacher can read. And then there's 5 days of activities. So this was actually inspired by Karen Long, that what she did is she showed a video by Dr. Patrick Taylor on clouds and Earth's climate, and then had them do the MyNASA data cloud sort activity. Does anybody want to see that cloud sort activity really quickly? Or have you all seen it? Okay.
I have not seen it. I'd be happy to see it if other people want to see it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm happy to show it. So the way this activity works is it's Google Slides. It'll force you to make a copy. And we won't go through the whole thing right now, but I just want to give you a general idea. This is basically introducing how clouds are named, the 3 basic types of clouds, the altitudes, low, middle, high, how these are combined to make names. And they can drag and drop and sort, like they can drag and drop the names. Obviously, I'm not dragging them where I think they go. I'm just illustrating that they can be dragged around. And then it talks about the types that produce rain. It talks about contrails. And then they sort the different names, put them under the pictures for the 3 main types. So for the cumulus, for the stratus, and for the cirrus. And then we go to, these are all the images from the cloud chart. And you can see that some of these are pretty hard to tell apart. There is an answer key, but it's emphasized in there in the answer key, like this is definitely a learning activity, not a final assessment kind of thing. And then we even have images with multiple cloud types so that they can identify what are there for multiple cloud types, because that's something that I have found to be a common misconception, that there's only one type of cloud at a time. And then we also have some images from my NASA data on the same day of low level, mid-level, and high level clouds. And they just indicate what kinds of clouds could they be, right? But it's kind of interesting to see the different quantities of clouds at the different levels. So that's what that activity is. And it helps the students learn some of the names of the clouds and why they're named the way they are and that kind of thing. So this, then on day 2, they go to the Cloud Gaze website and they classify images themselves. So out on Cloud Gaze, this, if you go into what do you see, there's a nice little tutorial here. Wow. Why is this not? Might be because I'm not logged in. You can pick what kinds of clouds there are and identify them and move on. And I don't know, Marile, see you're on here if you have a, we'll come back to that.
Yeah, it should be a blocked option, but I guess it's not there for that image. You can still respawn. So with Sooniverse, students don't have to sign in because there's a 14-year or older. So you can still do observations. So just put like altostratus and stratus, Angie. Yeah.
All
There
right.
you go.
All right. So you can pick what you want, identify, be done. And if you notice, and what I love about this is that some of them are grouped together. So some that are particularly hard to tell apart are grouped together so that they don't have to be as stressed out about the their classification. Okay, so that is another way to help them practice. Sorry about my slowness there. And then on day 3, they go out and they make observations. And then day 4 is they can either do cloudscape. There's also a tactile cloudscape that can be done, or they can do cloud in a bottle. And then finally on the last day, we've got the Earth System poster cards activity. There's a MyNASA data online interactive version, or you can just use the regular printed version. So that would be like if a teacher's got a week to spend on clouds, they can do this. Okay. There are also lots of additional resources if they want to explore, and we know they may or may not have time, especially this year. Teachers are slammed. Any questions on this pacing guide? Okay. So the next one is the clouds and energy budget. And this one is middle through 12. So grades 6 through 12. You can do them sequentially if you wanted. You could do the one we just talked about and then do the energy budget one, or not, depending on the amount of time you have. So it's all the same ideas as far as the contact. The guiding question here is, what is the role of clouds in Earth's energy budget? And then we've got the same, there's background information, there's connections to NASA. So in this one, we look at the MyNASA data, cloudy versus clear skies maps activity, which just shows the radiation without clouds and then the radiation with clouds, and they can see that there's less with the clouds. We have the cloud clues activity, which we now have the nice new video from Emily Holliday's students. We've got this cloud opacity experiment. There's some tips here. So this is kind of like heating things up, but you're modeling low level cumulus clouds with a big pile of cotton balls, and you're modeling cirrus clouds with some stretched out, thinned out cotton balls, kind of far apart. And they should see that more of the energy from the heat lamp goes through those cirrus or stretched out cotton balls. But you do need to make sure that you're stretching them out sufficiently, that you use an incandescent bulb, and that the lamp is close to the container. But this ties the opacity activity, which is just about opacity of materials, to clouds themselves, that clouds have different opacities. And that is why different clouds affect the energy budget differently. It's not until day 4 that they make their observations with this one. And then on day 5, there's a new MyNASA, 2 new MyNASA data activities for the clouds and Earth's climate. That is a repeat from the first pacing guide, but there's also a simplified model of clouds effects on the energy budget. So we kind of close it out with that. And again, there are these additional, resources for them, so that this is a way for a teacher to say, okay, this is something I can do. I don't have to feel like this is going to be something so huge that I could never incorporate this into my classroom. So these are new with the Cloud Challenge, and hopefully they will be a helpful resource. And with that, I think we could take any questions or comments that you guys might have for the challenge. Oh, I see tons of stuff in the chat.
Are you looking to break any records this year? Oh, sorry, Mike's hand is raised too.
Angie, I was just gonna, are the all the pieces that are leading up the reels, will they all be held on the website to go back to later?
I am not sure about that. Marilei, do you know that?
Oh, she said yes.
They will. Yes, they'll
Okay.
be available.
We don't start till the end of January, so
okay,
we can regroup a little bit. Thanks.
So as far as a
Yeah.
record, Jen, in the past, I know we had done kind of like some competitive type things. And then last summer, we just made it, hey, we're not, or, we're not making it any kind of competition. We're doing the family guide. Let's just get engaged. This year, it's not a competition, and not necessarily a record, but we're shooting for those 20,000 satellite matches. So we're hoping to achieve that so that we can measure the output somehow, but we're not having people compete against each other because they may not be able to. So, who knew the timing when nobody knew that Omicron would happen when we planned this.
And we're really close to 1 million satellite matches. This is why we're asking for 20,000 during the Cloud Challenge, but just keep an eye out. Tina, our amazing Tina Rogerson, is estimating that maybe by May, we may reach that 1 million satellite match to globe cloud observations. So I'm sure that you'll see it. Be on the lookout on the globe website.
That will be exciting.
Do you have a real-time ticker or anything? I was just, how we have the tickers for the globe data. I just didn't know if you had one for the satellite matches.
We were bouncing off that idea, but not currently. So, planning something during holidays is extremely difficult. So I think we've done a lot with everything that has happened. But we will be posting updates on where we're at. So Tina Rogerson will collect a group of us will know the daily number of satellite matches. And I'm sure that Kristen Weaver and the team will somehow update that either through social or through the website as well.
That is really awesome. And just kudos to all of you on the team because I know what an incredible amount of work that is. I mean, getting to that number of satellite matches, right? And all of the time and energy you put into everything around this challenge. And so I don't need, I'm not trying to add one more thing.
But
I just,
it is
it's
worth
great.
mentioning that if you have teachers that you work with who are virtual, back to virtual, the kids could at least do the cloud gaze part, or the students. And of course, citizen scientists can participate as well, but just thinking in terms of, if they're not in school because of what's going on, there is an option that's safe that they can be doing. And Marilei did point out in the chat, she's right, there is a career connection part on the family guide. So it just talks a little bit about careers at NASA and internships and that kind of thing, which is great.
Angie, do you want to promote your upcoming webinars at all for the pacing guides?
Sure, we are going to have a series of webinars on the pacing guides. They will begin on February 2nd, and the first one will be about the clouds pacing guides, and we'll go into a little more detail on some of the actual activities, like demonstrate it or try along with me, that kind of thing. That's on February 2nd, and then I believe on the 16th, if I'm not mistaken, we have, let me pull this up. Nope. Well, then we're going to have one on trees, one on urban heat island, one on air quality, and one on mosquitoes.